Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. In this video is just going to be a continuation from the drag and drop UI element. I mentioned at the back end of the video that we were going to add save and load. That video got a little bit longer than I expected, so this is the continuation for that. So let's just press open here what we last closed. Obviously you've just seen me load up this project, so we're just going to jump straight into this one. Relatively simple. So what have we got here? Health bar. Okay, so on mouse button. Okay. So I'm just going to pause the video just so I'm just going to refresh myself and we'll get back straight to it. Okay, so I should have paused it before I did that, but I've just familiarised myself with where we're up to. I was meant to make the video straight away, but I decided to have a day or two off, so here goes. Right, so for save and load, basically what we've got so far is you've got this game, and when we press to unlock our UI, we're dragging it around and we place it there, and we want to save that location. When we let go of that that element, when we let go of the health bar, we want it to not only move to that location, but then update its save position with its new position. And then obviously when we close the game and we press play again, when the game loads, we need to check that save data to see what position was it in last time and sort of load that position. So that's relatively straightforward, to be honest. It probably feels a little bit more complicated than it needs to be, but it's relatively simple on the face of it. So we could start this from many different ways, but what we'll do is we'll create the save game sort of class to start with. So go to blueprint class. And then under all classes, type in save game. So you can see it there. So it's a save game object. Select that. And I'm going to prefix mine as SG for save game. And then just put UI prefs. I might just put an underscore there. So prefs, UI prefs. Obviously, you can save anything in these, but I'm just going to keep it as relevant as possible. We're going to open that up. Now, in here is where we need to sort of define or create the variables for the information we need to save. Now, a save game file requires two things. That's kind of like a save slot name, and then a user index for the sort of like which user's data is it, and then what's the name of the slot. So it's like on games you'll have like save game 1, save game 2, save game 3, and that's pretty much the name. So we're going to create a couple of variables. So the first one's going to be of type string, and this one's just going to be slot name. Then what we'll do is we'll create another one, and this is going to be user index. Should I put slot index? We'll put user index, it's absolutely fine. And that's going to be a type of integer. And then basically anything after that is going to be data in which we want to save. So I'm going to do a UI position, which is basically a vector 2D, an X and Y of where it is on the screen. And I've gone back to the main HUD here, where we've got our health bar, and I'm just going to nip over to graph. Now, if you remember, in the graph on drop, what we're actually doing is we're getting this drag offset, and we're using that to set the position in the viewport. So we may as well just use that as our data point. So hover over it, and you can see that it's a vector 2D structure. So we're going to create exactly one of those. So I'm going to put health bar position, postion. There we go. And this is going to be a type vector. Whoops, vector 2D. Again, I've got a microphone in front of me, so typing's a little bit weird. So vector 2D, hit compile, and that's pretty much it, to be honest. Obviously, at the moment, it's 0, 0, but because we've not set it, but that's absolutely fine. So we can save that prefs now. So we've got some variables that we can sort of start to manipulate when we need to. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is, although we've got this UI prefs here, we need to actually create a container for information within the game. It's a little bit weird how it works, but effectively this is the class that we can make a save game based on, but we actually need to create the save game itself. It's a bit like how you would create a sort of a health bar widget, but then you need to actually create that widget within the game and add it to your screen. It's similar to that. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to put this in the game mode, because you can access the game mode from pretty much anywhere. And sometimes the UI might be specific to a game mode. So if you're in a deathmatch mode, the UI for a deathmatch mode is going to be health bar, ammo counter, what weapon you've got, stuff like that. Where your main menu game mode might just be start button, options button, settings button, stuff like that. So typically the type of UI you've got is going to differ with the game mode. So where do we start? I've kind of thrown myself off a little bit now. So event begin play. Event begin play. So when we start the game, what do we want to do? We want to create a save game object, just like that. Then from the list, select your SG UI prefs. From the return value, we're going to promote this to a variable, and we're just going to put save game object. And then you could put UI if you want. If you're going to have a lot of these, you might want to sort of uniquely name these, because you might have a save game for your character's customization, you might have a save game for other bits and pieces, what achievements you've unlocked, stuff like that. Anyway, so we've got a save game object. That's absolutely fine. We don't really need to do anything else with the game mode, I don't think, so I'm going to close it for now. Same with the save game UI prefs, the actual class itself, we don't really need that anymore. Okay, so on the main HUD, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the event graph, and what we need to do is on event construct, which is basically the event begin play, we're going to drag off that, and to start with we're actually going to use a sequence, because I want to do one thing and then another. And I'm just going to use a sequence to sort of put that together. If you've never used a sequence before, effectively, as it suggests, it does this, then once it's executed all of the blueprint on that line, it then goes to 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and you can add more using the plus pins. So instead of just having one really long line of blueprints all the way across your sort of event graph, you can sort of break them down vertically. So you can have do this, then this, then this, then this. Yeah, anyway, so what we want to do is we actually want to get our game mode, and we want to cast to it. We actually want to get access to that object. So let's do a cast to, what is it, third person game mode. Yep. So we'll do that. So connect that to that. What we want to do then is promote that to a variable, so then we've got access to the game mode. Then with access to the game mode, what we want to do is we want to... What do we want to do after that? We want to load any data that might already be there. So what we should do is... So from then, let's do a load... Do we want async? No, we don't. Load game by slot. So async is kind of like it will be loading, and obviously the flip side of it, the saving, because there's an async save game and there's an async load game. Async does it as the game's running, sort of like behind the scenes. Sometimes you'll see like a little icon in the bottom of your screen, sort of suggesting that it's loading, but you're still sort of moving around. It's not like a dedicated, I'm going to save now, I'm going to load. Whereas as mine is more of a based on an action happening. So when I drop it, it's going to save then or load then. Effectively, we're just going to load at the beginning of the game. It's very relatively simple. So we can have a slot name or a user index. Now they're the ones that we created, but we'll get to them in just a minute. So what this is going to do is that slot and that user number is going to be related to a specific load object, which is going to be our SG player prefs. So we can use that object to then cast to it. And then what that'll allow us to do is it'll allow us to get access to, I'm trying to remember, what did I call it? I forgot what I called it. I'm going to go down to variables at the bottom and just cheat a little bit. So health bar position. So we can get the health bar position and set the position. So let's get our health bar. So set position, slot position, just like that. Plug that into there. Do I need to do a canvas slot? Bear with me a sec. I think I'm going to separate this out actually, just for this bit, because the way I previously did it was a little bit messy, and I think I can tidy it up. Let's just make a custom event. So we'll call it load preferences. Load preferences. What we'll do then is we'll get the health bar. So like that, get the health bar. We're going to do something called slot as canvas slot. The reason we do that is when something is, so you can see this health bar here has got slot, and you can see that it actually says canvas panel slot. Now what that means is, because it's a widget of its own and we're placing it onto a canvas, when something's slotted as a canvas, it gives you this anchor point, it gives you a position, it gives you an X and a Y, and it gives you the freedom to do that. Whereas if I drag in an image, alright, bad example, but it gives you the freedom to set the position. So slot as canvas, and then what we can do as that is set position. So effectively we're just tapping into this data here. Okay, so let's connect that to there. And that's fine. And then what we want to do is this load preferences. What I'm probably going to do is I'm going to take an input. I'm going to take an input as SG prefs, and I'm just going to call this save game object, like that. From that we can take our health bar position. Whoops, not set. I think I'm probably going to have to get one of those arms to hold my microphone so it's not in my way. Plug that into there. So all we've done is we've took in this SG object, plugged it into our set position, and then what I'll probably do is just do a quick print string so we can confirm that it's working. Print string, and let's just put UI prefs loaded, like that. So that's going to load prefs. So what we'll do is when we cast to this, we'll do load prefs. And instead of taking this health bar, we'll just take this param straight into there like that. Hit compile. Why is there an error? Let's do a quick refresh. Okay, not sure why there was an error there. That was weird. So yeah, so what we're doing is we're getting to the game mode. From the game mode, we're effectively getting this this object that we can use. We're not actually doing anything with the game mode, so that might be unnecessary, to be honest. Yeah, but we need to decide a slot name, so we'll decide that when we actually save it. So we need to go to the, is it on drop? Do we want to save it on drop, or do we want to save it on the mouse down? Let's go to on drop. So at the end, before we confirm everything, what we should probably do is let's get a save game slot. Save game to slot. Like this. The save game object. So this is where we're going to need that game mode. So I knew I was doing it for a reason. So we're getting the game mode, not for here, but for later on. Get the game mode. As the game mode, let's get the save game UI object. Plug that into our save game to slot. So that's fine for there, like that. What we want to also do is, as this, we want to set the bar position. So let's pop that into there like that. So this is for the saving part. So this is where we're going to grab this position and plug that into there. Let's just double click on this line just to do a reroute node, just so it's a bit more obvious where this is coming from. Come on. There we go. So obviously when we drop our UI onto the HUD, the screen, obviously we're going to move it from where it was, set it in its new position, and then we're going to set the save game object preferences health bar position to that same position, and then we're going to tell the system to save it. So where do we want to save it to? So let's just call this slot 1 just to keep things simple, and the user is 0. We'll keep that. So hit confirm. I'm going to go back to the event graph, and we will do... No, I'd say... I'll tell you what we should do. So here I'm actually manually typing in the slot name, but what we actually did was we actually made a slot name on here. I tell you what, you don't actually need to do that, but if you want to do that, you can do. You can make the variable, but arguably it's a little bit long-winded, to be honest. But the variables are good if you want the user to define what the save file's called. So we'll get rid of those. So I do apologise for adding those. Slightly more complicated save files, not just singular save files. You might want a variable and have different save slot names. So you'd have slot 1 name and slot 1 user, slot 2 name, slot 2 user. But for this, we'll keep it simple. So we're going to load from slot 1 and we're going to save to slot 1. To be honest, that's pretty much it. What I might do is just chuck in a print string here just to say data saved or user pref UI prefs saved. UI prefs saved like that. Hit compile. And I think that's it, to be honest. I honestly think that's it. So let's just give it a quick try. So unlock my UI. Drag it over here. Now when I let go, in the top left hand corner I should see pref saved. Pref saved. I'm going to lock my UI. I'm just going to do a quick runabout. And then I'm going to close the game. I'm going to open the game. Pref's loaded, and you can see my bar is now sat in the bottom corner. So it was relatively simple, but it still took 17 minutes to talk through for some reason. So I apologise if I've dragged this out longer than I should have done. But knowing it was only one feature, I feel like I've talked through some things which are quite useful. Albeit the variable name and the user index we didn't actually use, but you're aware that you can add that in there and you can sort of save the name of your slots if you want to. Yep, so that's pretty much it. So I don't want to drag it on any longer than I already have. Thanks for watching. If you found it helpful, consider giving me a like. If you want to talk about it or if you want to ask me about anything else, please feel free to pop a comment down below. Also, there's a link in the description for the Discord channel. Plenty of people there that regularly help out, and I'm always there, and I tend to respond on Discord a lot quicker than YouTube because I actually get a notification from Discord when you message me. So, yeah, feel free to do any of that. If you would like my content, consider subscribing, and I'm going to stop talking now, but thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another one. Bye.